8 o'clock, time for the Wayne County Board of Commissioners to go over the agenda for today's meeting. Y'all bear with me if I lose my voice today. Mr. Ed still got his. Invocation, Mr. Doherty, you gonna introduce your pastor
I
for
am.
the invocation?
Yes.
Pledge of allegiance, Mr. Bell.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna shift the agenda around just a little bit. We're gonna move special recognition up right under the pledge. I think we've got, what, 3 today?
Yes, sir.
Got 3 today, and our reasoning or our purpose for moving them up, Mr. Joe Gurley is gonna be recognized today for his 30-plus years working with the county. He's gonna get his retirement plaque, and he wants his mother here, and we need to go ahead and get them out of the way so she won't have to hang around for hour and a half for that recognition. At 9 o'clock, we have a public hearing, consider whether to go into an installment agreement, construction of the Grantham Middle School and Spring Creek School. At 9:15, Mr. Wood's going to give us the proposed county budget.
Actually, that's a public hearing on that.
Is that the,
Yes.
Yeah. I'll make a few comments.
Right.
Before we get started, Mr. Chairman, if that's okay.
okay. Anything else before we move on? All right, any discussion of the agenda, adjustments to the agenda. Marcia, have you got?
Mr. Wood has that.
We've got several things. One is we needed to add this North Carolina Eastern Region resolution. Marcia just handed that out. And the reason that's being done at the last minute is, as y'all know, we had to wait to see what other counties were going to take the money. And if you remember, we agreed that we would take the remainder. And so the attorney called Borden yesterday or Friday. He got the information to us late yesterday. So essentially what that is it's $2,162,192.25 that he's saying, and he's giving you the counties it's coming from. As you recall, they want to close on this money, I believe it's June the 10th or 11th. 10th, and so this is our last meeting before then, so we really need to walk this on to the agenda if at all possible. And behind his memo, which lays all of that out, is the resolution where you're adopting it for that specific amount. Because before, we didn't have a detailed amount at that point. We had an estimate, but we didn't know what these other counties were going to do. Now all of that's finalized, so that's what that is.
That'll be under new business,
Unfinished business.
Unfinished business, and then we also have a budget amendment, which is attached to that. And Pam has prepared that for you this morning, so we go ahead and take care of all of it at one time.
And that budget amendment is because we're gonna have to pay the fees on the 10th when it's closed. So I've got to get that budget amendment for y'all.
Okay. So, is everybody clear on that? Anybody got any questions on it?
Mr. Doherty.
Could you refresh my memory on what the terms of this 2 million,
It's 5 years,
5 years?
and you would pay basically, 59 months, excuse me. It has to be less than 5 years. It's 59 months. You would pay 2%, a one-time fee of 2%. And 1% of that goes to the Eastern Region, 1% goes to whichever county has loaned the money. And we'll just pay it to the Eastern Region and they'll divvy it out. And then it's 25 basis points interest rate per year.
So 0.25%?
0.25% on the loan. So,
That's all but free money.
yes, yeah. So, did I miss anything, Pam?
That's correct. That's the fee that we have on the budget amendment, 2% upfront money.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Any other questions on this?
Anyone else?
Okay.
Mr. Mayo, Since you are on the Eastern Region, would you read that resolution, please?
I will. We need to read it, sure.
Okay, the next thing we need to add is an oath of office for Tom Flores to the North Carolina State Board of Social Services. So we need to get that. And then,
Under special recognition.
pardon me?
We're gonna do that under special.
Under special recognitions, okay.
And you gonna handle that oath, Mark?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and let me make a note. And where were we putting the Eastern Region Resolution?
Unfinished business.
Unfinished business.
Unfinished.
And then the last thing that we have is, we would like you to delete, under new business, is to delete the motion to approve a contract with Southern Health Partners for inmate health care. Borden has a couple of questions on the contract, and we would like to hold off. We'll bring it back to you at the next meeting. It's nothing major, but it's just some things he wants, and we, frankly, we ran out of time to get the papers back and forth between us, so there's no rush on it. It takes effect September 1, so we just ask that you take that off the agenda, and we'll put it back on June 17th. And I believe that's all the changes we had down, is that right?
Yes, sir.
That's everything.
Okay. Then we have the approval of the minutes. Like I say, we've moved the special recognition up to right under the pledge. Mr. Mayo, you got appointments to make this morning?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, we're going to, the appointments that's recommended this morning, we're gonna go ahead and vote on today. But down under, probably new business, I want to discuss, the procedure that we are doing that on. Right now, the appointment committee is making recommendations and we're voting on it the same day. And, some of the commissioners feel like that we need a little time to think about those appointments. So I want to discuss, and it'll be up to the board to make the decision on whether the appointment committee make their appointments like today, and then we wait till the next meeting to vote on them. But we'll discuss that, and whatever the pleasure of the board is, we'll change that policy or either leave it like it is. Any questions on that? We need, under new business, that'd be okay?
Appointment committee procedures.
Yes, ma'am. Unfinished business. Motion to accept the Grantham Middle School sites from Wayne County Board of Education lease agreement, deed trust, and installment financing agreement. Mr. Wood, you gonna go over that?
I'll handle that, and Pam as well.
And the other thing that would be that you have to vote to accept the property from the schools, but it'll also include leasing it back to them. That document is not for you, but leasing it back to you, to them, and then the other agreements that you would have with their operating.
You'll help us on the wording of that when we get to it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Parker. Motion to purchase property to be communications tower site in western Wayne County. Then, Eastern Carolina resolution for the money. Mr. Mayo will read that resolution, and we'll act on it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
could I back up just a minute? I have a question or just a comment on the purchase of the site for the communications tower.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to know, at the 9 o'clock session, you know, the price itself on the surface seems awful high for that area, and I didn't know if there had been any research as to comparables of like properties in that area, or why the purchase price seems to be high. I've had a couple of residents they have seen the agenda, they have asked me. And I just want to make sure that we are able to justify to the taxpayer what we're doing here.
Right. We can do that.
We can do that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Consent agenda, is any questions on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, let me go
Mr.
back to
Carter.
that purchase agreement. We're going to have someone that's going to come to explain that to us, or is Mr. Wood
The
going to?
purchase agreement on what?
On
The tower site.
tower site.
Oh, I think between the chairman and I, we can
Okay.
cover that.
All right,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Number 3 and 4 on the consent agenda are tied to that.
Correct.
Right.
Any other questions on the consent agenda? If not, moving on to new business, we've taken item number 1 off. Motion to approve, lots 1 through 12 in Ingram
And Chip is here if you have any questions.
Field subdivision, and Chip, you gonna take care of that for us? Yes, sir. Thank you. Ms. Holt, you gonna take care of the budget amendments?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we've got a public hearing at 10 o'clock. Public comments at 10 o'clock. And after the county manager's comments, and then the board's comments. And then after our meeting, we're gonna go into the budget work session. Anyone else have anything this morning?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have something that I'd like to bring up. I had planned to wait until the normal meeting, but I'm going to bring it up now, and if you want to discuss it, that's fine. If not, we'll move on. In the appointments committee meeting this morning, I was told by the chairman that I was causing problem because I asked questions. I thought that was unfair and unnecessary. Now, we're going to bring Mr. Meadows back to the board after 9 years. He was on there for 9 years. They moved, the only female on the board of ABC board, move her off and bring this man back on that was on there for 9 years. And when I questioned it, Mr. Mayo informed me that they won. Now, I thought that was unprofessional to tell a sitting commissioner that they won, and they do what they want to do. So I just brought that up for the board to consider.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Anyone else have any comments? If not, we're gonna go into closed session, and Mr. Parker to,
Consider the qualifications of a proposed county employee.
okay? And we're gonna go into closed session, and if we don't get through with what we're gonna discuss in closed session, we've got to come back out and be back for our public hearing at 9 o'clock, so there's a possibility we may have to go back into closed session.
Motion.
Do I need a I need a motion to go into
I
closed
so
session?
moved.
I have a motion on the floor to go in closed session in discussion. If none, all in favor show a sign of right hand. Motion carries. Good morning, everyone. It's a little after 9 o'clock. Time to conduct the business of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners. Asked everyone, if you've got a cell phone or pagers, please put them on silent or either cut them off. Start with invocation. Mr. Doherty, I think you're going to introduce to.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Today, I'm pleased to introduce Pastor Wes Johnson. He is from the Harvest Baptist Church in the Great District 6 of Wayne County. He has been an editor of WHFL-TV for the past 15 years. He's married to Charity Johnson. They have a 5-year-old daughter, Nora Grace. And if you will come forth and give us the invocation today.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we stand before you today as a grateful people. We're grateful for every good and perfect gift you have given to us. One of those precious gifts is this community in which we live and in which we serve. Your word tells us in Romans 13 that every person is to be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. May those here today feel a holy sense of responsibility. May they realize that they serve as unto the Lord. In 1 Timothy 2, your word tells us that prayers and intercessions should be made for all who are in positions of authority, that we may lead a peaceful and quiet life, godly and dignified in every way. In praying for those in authority today, Lord, we lift up these leaders before you. We pray that by your power, they would make wise decisions, that they would strengthen and prosper our community. May they wisely allocate resources. May they prudently make financial decisions. And Father, we ask that they would be motivated by your hand and not by their own personal concerns. Finally, Father, we pray that we would all seek to walk in a manner that is worthy of you, fully pleasing to you, bearing fruit in every good work and increasing in the knowledge of God. It is in Jesus' name, your Son and our Savior, that we ask these things. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Mr. Bale.
Will we stand, face the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank y'all. Y'all bear with me. I got one of them summertime colds. I get the sneezing and coughing. Just bear with me. We're going to shift the agenda around just a little bit. We're going to go ahead and move to special recognition up now before we get into the public hearing and the rest of the business of the board today. Mr. Wood and Marshall. Commissioners Wood, step down front.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today. It's my pleasure to present this plaque to Joe Gurley. It's with mixed emotions, though. Joe spent a long career with the county. He spent nearly 36 years with the county, and would have, except we had a few unusual circumstances come up, and so it's with mixed emotions because you've done such an outstanding job for the county, but we also look forward to your further service to the county as a county commissioner starting July 1. But this plaque says, presented to A. Joe Gurley III, Office of Emergency Services, in appreciation of dedicated service as a county employee, August 7, 1978 to May 31, 2014, County of Wayne, North Carolina. And Joe, again, on behalf of the county, we just want to thank you for all your years of service and also the time you're going to spend with us as a commissioner.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
I drove into work Friday to tie up some loose ends, and I thought about August 7th, 1978. It was a long time ago. And so I was in there tying up some loose ends, going through some file folders, and ran across Hurricane Fran and Floyd. And I remember Hurricane Fran, we didn't even have a facsimile machine. We had to borrow Mr. Parker's. And now there's so much social media and media outlets out there that we can't even keep up with it, but things change, and change for the good, you know. But then also, as I was going through this stuff, I started reminiscing about different things. And starting in '78, then Dane and I got married in '83, and tomorrow we'll be married 31 years. And then Kelly, our oldest, was born in '88. Carrie Jo, my youngest, born in '93. And then in '96, we had Hurricane Fran, and then '98, we lost 2 firefighters. That was devastating to our office and the community as a whole. And in '99 was Floyd, and that was probably the pinnacle of all. And then in 2001, we did the merger of Goldsboro's 911 EMS. And 2006, Kelly graduated. And 2010, Kelly and John got married. 2012, Carrie graduated, and Carrie's in college now. And about 4 months ago, Kelly and John told me that they were expecting our first grandchild, and that's due September 11th. So what I'm trying to tell you now it's a long time ago, but it's been a blur too. And just looking back, I thought about little Wesley there. I knew where met his daddy first time. I think it was Hurricane Fran, and he was just a toddler back then. But I met a lot of good people, and thankful for God for blessing me and blessing my career and being with me every step of the way, and for a loving and caring family. And then they were with me good times and not so good times, but the good times outweighed by far. And so the family was real supportive and loving in those times. And then I leave you with a capable staff over there that's capable of anything you ask or require of them. So thank you again for your time this morning. I know you got a busy day, and I look forward to sitting with you on July 1st. Thank you.
Oh, you want to get a picture?
Oh, yes. We
Wayne?
definitely got some pictures now. Let's kind of squish together a little bit here.
Okay, are we squished? And Joe. Thank you. Here we go, in 5. Thank you. That's very good.
Very good.
I have trouble doing 4.
Is that it? I think that's it.
No, we have.
Oh, yeah, that's right, excuse me. I'll get it right in a minute. Our next presentation is to Judy Wooten. Is Judy here? I don't see her here, so we'll hold that one over. And the next presentation we want to make is to Alan Lumpkin. Alan, will you come up, please? If you'll stand over here, please. Just so everyone knows, Alan was presented with the Tax Employee of the Year Award at the 2014 North Carolina Tax Collectors Association Conference. Honorees are selected on the basis of being an employee of an appointed tax collector within an area or a division of a local government tax department within North Carolina. And awardees are honored for promoting improvements and enhancements to the area of tax collections and internal office procedures, their willingness to provide new and creative ideas in the area of collection techniques, and challenging themselves and other tax employees to promote the best customer service to citizens of North Carolina, and motivated to set high standards for other employees to follow. Alan, on behalf of the county, and I know that you've already received this plaque earlier in the year, but I'd like to read it for the public so that they understand what you did. This is to certify that Alan Lumpkin has been designated by this association as the Outstanding Employee of the Year of 2014, given at the direction of the association on this, the 10th day of April 2014, and this was presented by the North Carolina Tax Collectors Association. And so again, Alan, we want to congratulate you for that. Thank you, sir. Okay. Okay.
Here we go. Thank you. Bye.
I have the honor of administering the oath of office to Tom Flores, who is now going to be a member of the North Carolina State Board of Social Services. So I'll administer the oath. Do you, R. Thomas Flores, Jr., solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States? Do you, R. Thomas Flores, Jr., solemnly swear that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States?
I do.
Do you, R. Thomas Flores, Jr., solemnly swear that you will well and truly execute the duties of your office as a member of the North Carolina State Social Services Commission according to the best of your ability and skill according to the law, so help you God?
So help me God, I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Shake the commissioner's hand, Tom.
Thank you.
Mr. Flores, Mr. Flores, you'll come sign your oath.
No, we just say something.
Good discussion. Now vote we. Okay, it's a little past 9 o'clock. We have a public hearing to consider whether to enter into an installment agreement for the construction of Grantham Middle School, Spring Creek Middle School. It's current design bill for the Board of Commissioners, the Board of Education, in the amount not to exceed $41,500,000. Public hearing is open. Anyone have any comments? If no one has any comments, the public,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Doherty.
I just wanted to speak in the public comment here that I support this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else on the board? Sorry that I excluded y'all. I think that, when the dust finally settles, that everyone's gonna be satisfied. We've accomplished a lot. Two well-needed schools are gonna be constructed, and I think that both communities are happy. No one else has anything, any comments? Public hearing is closed on this matter. Mr. Wood, County Manager's proposed County of Dwayne budget for 2014-2015.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I presented the budget to you, the proposed budget last week. It's been on display at the library. It's also been online. And I think I'll reserve any further comments until the work session this afternoon. But I do want to give you some information on that, and we do have some other potential cuts in the budget at that point that I want to make you aware of, particularly from Sheriff Pierce, who has offered to cut his budget back some, and I'd like to go over that with you.
Okay, thank you. Any adjustments to the agenda?
We're going to have a public hearing on the budget.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Public hearing is now open for any comments pertaining to the 2014-2015 budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me time to make comment on the budget.
If you would, state your name.
Okay, name is Ken Jones, and I'm the Director for East Point Human Services. I noticed in the budget there is $42,000 allocated to East Point this year for the Family Drug Treatment Court, and we do appreciate the $42,000 allocated to that program. If you recall last year, East Point had a significant cut in their budget from $640,000 to zero. We also had a requirement for lease at the Borden building at $120,000. So in total, we took a $760,000 loss or cut in our budget last fiscal year. Over that year, we were able to shift some things around, but we continued to operate some of those programs with our fund balance. This current fiscal year, as we go into our next year's budget, we will not be able to continue to fund some of those programs. Now, we have done a good job with using some of our Medicaid to fund some of the services for the consumers that we serve. And that is only because we were able to use some of our waiver funds for that purpose. So we do not need the amount of funding that we did in the previous year. But we do have at least 1-2 programs that I would like for you to consider refunding. I think I shared this document with our county manager, and make sure each one of you have a copy of it. Make sure you have it here. What what we would like to request this year is $367,000. $225,000 will be for a walk-in clinic. $100,000, we have an opportunity this year for additional state funding to open up an integrated healthcare clinic right here in Wayne County. And in order to do that, I'm estimating that we would need somewhere around $100,000 to match what we might be able to get from the state. But that is still kind of up in the air. It's in the Senate budget, and hopefully there will be funding in the House budget this year. And then the $42,000 that you already have budgeted for the Family Drug Treatment Court, we would like to continue to keep. Just so that you know how we expended the funding for the $640,000 in the previous year, and how we are going to lose services in this catchment area or this county if we don't fund part of the services. In the past, we have have reduced funding for our Mental Health Association, Wayne Opportunities. For this past year, we're having to reduce funding there. We did last year. We have in the past paid for hotel expense for persons that have mental illness and who are homeless. Anyone that does not qualify for insurance, does not qualify for Medicaid, and does not qualify for state benefits, and there are quite a few of those individuals. They will fall through the cracks, and we will not be able to provide services to them. Individuals that are going into crisis, we have to pay our providers for those services when they go into crisis. Someone has to pay them for the service, and many of those individuals will not qualify for any of these funds, and their private insurance would not pay for them either. So those are some of the services that would be lost in this community. I would say right now, the $225,000, you have a walk-in clinic right here in Wayne County. That walk-in clinic is for anyone, any individual that has insurance, does not have insurance, qualifies for Medicaid, qualifies for state funds. Now, there is a group of individuals that fall into, they do not qualify for anything. This $225,000 is there to support all those individuals that do not qualify for any of those services. And we are contracting right now with Waynesboro Family Clinic for those services. It includes things like medication, an assessment, ongoing treatment for those individuals that do not qualify for services. And it includes funding for crisis. That provider cannot provide these services free. Across the state of North Carolina, all of your counties contribute to some type of, I would say, walk-in crisis service or clinic. And I would encourage you, out of all the funding that I'm requesting here, that you consider putting funds back into this crisis clinic, which is, if we lost that, then there will be individuals in your community that would not have anywhere to go for services. I have Don Neal here, who is the CEO for the Waynesboro Family Clinic, and he can tell you a little more about what services are offered through his clinic that are not paid for through Medicaid, not paid for through state funds, but paid for through your county dollars. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing us to have public comment. I'm going to have a sheet passed around here. I am Don Neal, the clinical director at Waynesboro Family Clinic. And I thought I would just share a couple of statistics here on mental health. This came from the USA Today on May 13th, and I just thought the headline news was the cost of not caring for those in mental health needs. More than 500,000 Americans with serious mental illness are falling through the cracks of the system in tatters, this report says. We have replaced psychiatric hospital beds with the jail cell, the homeless shelter, and the coffin, says Representative Tim Murphy, a child psychologist leading the effort to reform mental health systems. States have been reducing hospital beds for decades because of insurance pressures, as well as they're providing more services outside the institution. But tight budgets during the recessions have forced some of the most devastating cuts in memory, says Robert Glover, Executive Director of the National Association of State Mental Health. We have seen a cut of $5 billion in mental health services from 2009 to 2012. So that's kind of an overview on a national level of what's happening. The results is that far too often people with severe mental illness are not getting services. Nearly 40% of adults with mental illness issues such as schizophrenia and bipolar received no treatment in the previous year. So that's kind of the national level, and I had to go around a sort of a handout regarding us. You can see at the beginning, for the past 9 years, we have been funded by you, the commissioners, as the Wayne County Walk-in Crisis Clinic. This occurred when East Point stopped providing direct services and became a local management entity. Of course, without the Walk-in Crisis Clinic, mental health and substance abuse services in Wayne County will be reduced. We are open Monday through Friday and every other Saturday, and we never turn anyone away. It does not matter about your ability to pay, the severity of your problem, how extreme it is, we're there. We collaborate every day with the Wayne Memorial Hospital, the emergency room. We get referrals from DSS, the Department of Juvenile Justice. We continually are meeting with school social workers, school guidance counselors. Right now there's a special project going on with one of the guidance counselors that she's pulling all the data together for a new standardized protocol of what will follow this coming school year with Wayne County Public Schools. Y'all probably remember a few months ago there was a double suicide out in the Rosewood School area. Our agency was involved in that with the schools. We went to the funerals. After the funerals, that we were asked by staff or by the church staff to come in to be available to be there for any kind of crises to help individuals work through that time. And it's the funding that came through this county that allowed us to be able to have all the services there. Not that we wouldn't have done it anyway, but still this is things that are not reimbursed through a regular insurance program. We're just being available and as kind of a community service. During the past 12 months, and there's data for each of these things for each month, there was 2,671 patients seen as an emergency person, either with mental health or substance abuse issues. And that's broken down on each sheet per month of the number of people that came in, what counties they were from, and what type of service they received. And you can see, like under the month of May 2014, that we had 19 people that we got into detox. And that would be, there's like 5 different centers across eastern North Carolina that we generally get them in the service, do their assessments, and then make sure they get transported there. And if transportation is required, that's something we work out as well. And most of the time, if you're needing detox, you're not driving. You've lost your driver's license or you're unable to drive. Commitments, we work very well, I feel like, with the Wayne County Sheriffs, City Police, of all the Fremont, Mount Olive, all the people around that come through. And you can see the data there. During the month of May, we did 10 commitments. And an average day, it's not uncommon for us to have 6, 8, 10 referrals at 8 o'clock in the morning that Wayne Memorial has sent to us from the night before to come in and get services, to get placement, to get psychiatric consultation, or to get medication. So many people that are falling through the cracks cannot afford medications. And one of the things that you're funding is, in the last paragraph of the sheet, is a patient assistance person, and this individual works with private drug companies to work with their patient assistance program to get medications for people that otherwise would not get it. She verifies their income, she completes the very lengthy application process, works with a physician to get the prescriptions, works with the client, and then starts the medication and keeps them on the medications, and they're allowed to come in and pick them up free of charge. And right now we have 189 consumers from Wayne County that are benefiting from this program. The other thing I can say that the Crisis Walk-in Centers are getting money for is right now we're supporting 8 to 12 hours of psychiatric time, and that is for an MD that has a psychiatric background to be available. And that goes a long way to funding that. And then lastly, we have a full-time qualified professional, Hillary Smith, that's there for doing intakes, data collection, making sure assessments get completed and that sort of thing. So I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I will be available.
Comments?
Mr.
Thank-
Chairman,
Mr. Pate.
could I ask Mr. Jones to step back up, a couple questions?
Yes, sir.
We're talking about the inability to find funding, either through Medicaid or insurance, or how does the Affordable Care Act play in this?
Well, actually, if the Affordable Care Act goes through and the expanded Medicaid population is served, then there will be quite a few more people covered through Medicaid that are currently not covered through Medicaid.
Okay.
So that would help in the community and all the communities.
And follow up, the General Assembly, don't they set up the funding formula for each catchment basin, as to terms of how much money is there?
They do.
Determine the number of Medicaid eligible people there.
Actually, the number of Medicaid eligible people is determined by DSS, the Department of Social Services. So, and basically based on their income and their dependents and all
So
those kinds of
they
things.
report that to the General Assembly,
Right.
and they set the formula based on that.
That is correct, and then that's how our funding is based on the number of Medicaid eligibles for the.
So we're actually are paying some already because of just regular county taxes, correct?
Correct,
Okay.
correct, and that is for the Medicaid population.
Okay. How will the consolidation of the MCOs, which is coming, and we all know that, how's that going to impact you? Any idea?
The consolidation of all the MCOs, I would say for.
Is it going to bring more money to the table?
Yeah, it does. Actually, it does add more money to the table. Of course, they're taking funding too for administrative
Right, I
costs.
understand that.
But it does add more funding to the table.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Before you leave, I just want to make sure we getting the cart and the horse in its proper place. Prior to last year, you were funded by this county at what level? What dollar amount?
$640,000 a year.
$640K.
Right.
And last year, it was reduced to
Zero.
zero.
Right.
And you were able to provide the services that you provided because you had a
Fund balance.
fund balance,
Right.
and that's gone.
Right.
So,
And let me
Go ahead.
clarify that. We do have fund balance, but our
Okay.
board has not allocated any fund balance for Wayne
to serve Wayne County.
That is
Well,
correct.
that's what I mean.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's good to know. That's good so that we don't miss it, so that just what we say is not misinterpreted. Because I was talking about Wayne County, I was talking about
Right.
your whole fund balance
Right.
everywhere, but I was talking about that portion that was being used for Wayne County.
That is correct. And the funding used for Wayne County, let me make sure that we understand this is for individuals in your community that do not qualify for Medicaid, do not qualify for state or federal funds.
Hold now, just hold right there, because I want to take piece by piece.
Okay.
It's just without editorializing,
Okay.
if the state of North Carolina had taken the expanded opportunity for Medicaid, can I assume that the people that you're saying now this can't be served could possibly have been served?
I would say a portion of those
A
people.
portion.
Absolutely.
Not suggesting all, but a portion.
There would still be services that would not be funded. Medication is one of those services in many cases. In many cases, if an individual, and this has happened several times, a child with Blue Cross Blue Shield Blue Cross Blue Shield does not cover some of the expanded services that we provide. And some of those services would be much more helpful to them than just outpatient therapy or a psychiatric unit for that child. We do have services in between that private insurance does not pay for. So, that's another example of where we are serving people with insurance. example too, we have a mobile crisis team. They provide the mobile crisis team. If someone calls in an emergency and they're dispatched to that emergency, and that is individual has private insurance, it will not pay for that service provided by this provider.
Okay. So now, I heard you say that every day, no, I'm sorry, you did. Every day the hospital sends folk to you that they, whatever reason, saw that previous night and need your services to be able to reclaim their place in society. I mean, be able to go home, be able to level out, whatever it takes. And we don't know the X's and O's. So that next morning, you're going to see those people. So I know the sheriff's department is not in here, but this is a point I'm wanting to get to. If you didn't see those that next morning, and they were back out on the street, we assume that they might wind up in the jail or where are they going to go? That's what I want the public to understand. Where are these people who are part of everybody's families out there? Where are they going to go then?
I think the article I read explained, that lots of times it is to the jail or for a homeless shelter, and we collaborate with all the Wayne County homeless shelters all the time. We have a fantastic relationship with the Salvation Army, with the Oxford House, with House of Fordham, the Flynn Home. We're continually working all these programs to make sure that we're getting people services. And this can take hours upon hours. I heard y'all talking about the Medicaid thing. Sometimes people's illnesses are so extreme, they wouldn't begin to know the process to how to apply for Medicaid or to how to get state-funded services. And if you don't put a qualified professional minimally with them to help them work through that, they're never going to connect or link to the service. So that's some of the things that's happening through Wayne County Crisis Walk-In Clinic at Waynesboro Family Clinic. Is they are getting the service they need, and I think you're making a great point that without the supports, whether it's in our agency or another agency, whether we have supports there, we're going to be at a point of crisis as a county, not as a crisis clinic. We're going to be at a point of crisis for this county, and I think if you had any deputies here or police officers here, they would validate. They're in and out of our office many times a week. And they're doing a fabulous job on the streets helping us, and they're taking the CIT course, Crisis Intervention Training course that East Point facilitates. We're all collaborating and working well together. So that's part of my reason for being here today. If we change this and there's not something available, we are going to be at a point of crisis with the county.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dillon. I would ask that we refer this over to the county manager and we bring this up in our budget workshop this afternoon.
Yeah, I did want to comment. We didn't receive this until we had pretty much put the budget to bed. And so Mr. Jones and I talked about that, and that's why he's here today. But I would like the opportunity to review everything and then let me get back with you on that. Because unlike everything else in the budget, I've not had an opportunity to really review this in depth. I've not gone over their budget in depth or anything else.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mayor. I just have one question. Are you required by state statute that they carry a minimum fund balance?
We are. We are required by state statute to cover a minimum fund balance.
Okay, and what is that, please?
It's 8% of your budget. Our budget has increased though from the previous year, $30 million to $300 million. So it's increased tenfold. So the state of North Carolina understands that, and we are working on building that 8%. We do not have the 8% at this point.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bailey.
Mr. I just want to make one observation. The Board of Directors for East Point are not going to vote to fund Wayne County. The money that we put in East Point doesn't cover any other consumers in any other county. It only covers the consumers in Wayne County. So when we have a board meeting, and when they find out that Wayne County is not paying for their consumers, they're not going to, regardless of how much fund balance they have, they're not gonna, fund Wayne County. So our consumers will be left out in the cold if we don't.
Well, and you're talking about the consumers that don't qualify for Medicaid.
That's right, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
So
they have,
this is, basically what we're talking about, this is over and above for people to qualify for Medicaid.
right, it's, basically what we're talking about is a place that anybody can go to when there's an emergency. It doesn't discriminate what type of, if you have, insurance, no insurance, no Medicaid, you don't qualify for state funding. You do qualify for state funding. Some of the services that Waynesboro provides, we pay for by fee for service. There are many, many services that they provide that they do not get reimbursed for. So it's really almost like a fireman's model of, we give them the $225,000, they spend it wisely and serve anybody in your community.
Mr. Chairman, another thing we have to be concerned about is that a lot of these consumers that doesn't get treatment, they end up in the local jail and we still pay. So it's almost like Mr. Goodrich, you pay me now, you pay me later.
Let's wrap this up, and appreciate y'all coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments, and we will address it in our budget meeting this afternoon. Thank y'all. Anyone else have any public comments on, the budget? If no other comments on the, proposed 2014-2015 budget, public hearing is closed. Adjustments to the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, you want to vote on the matter you had the first hearing on, the financing of the middle schools and the.
What's the pleasure of the board on voting on,
We're gonna take that up under unfinished business.
That could do it right after the public hearing, but you had two right back to back.
I guess he was gonna cover it all.
Oh, right there, okay.
Oh, okay.
That
We'll
was
just
fine.
cover it all.
whatever the pleasure of the board is, and,
I think we can cover all of it under unfinished business. Board just
Okay.
want to make sure we approve the financing as well as what we're doing here.
okay, we take care of item one of the unfinished business. We'll do that. Okay. Any adjustments to the agenda?
As we mentioned previously, of course, we wanted to add the oath of office for Mr. Flores. You already done that. We do need to add a North Carolina Eastern Region resolution, which we had talked about, and we would recommend that you add that under unfinished business as number 3. And I'll go into more details on that when we get to it. And the other change would be we're requesting that you delete the under new business, number 1, the motion to approve the contract with Southern Health Partners for inmate health care. We have a couple of minor corrections on the contract, and so Mr. Parker needs to get back with them and the Sheriff's Department on that, and we would bring that back to you at the June 17th meeting.
Thank you. Is that all the adjustments?
Yes, sir. Oh, yes, and number 4 is you wanted to have a discussion about the appointments, procedures, policy, how you want to go about doing that.
We're going to do that under unfinished?
That would be new business, number 4, after budget amendments.
Okay.
Is that everything?
Give me just a minute here. Is that all the adjustments?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion on the floor that we approve the minutes of the May 13th, 2014 and May 20th, 2014?
So moved.
I have a motion on the floor that we approve the minutes of the May 13th and May 20th meeting. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, show of sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous. We've already taken care of the special recognitions. Appointment committee, Mr. Mayo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have some appointments this morning. Just so the public knows, on the appointment committee, it's myself and Commissioner Bill Pate and Commissioner John Bell. If you would turn into your agenda to page 9, which is the first page, it's close to the front of the book today. If you turn the page to the first one highlighted is the Wayne County Veteran Services Advisory Committee. The appointment committee recommends the appointment of Jamie Dunleavy Rowan to the appointment committee, and that is, to the Wayne County Veteran Services Advisory Committee, and that is in the form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion?
Just one comment, please.
Mr. Pate.
I'm just gonna let everybody know that, this person is filling the slot that's from, where Bill Carr retired because of health reasons, and we had to find somebody who was within that district, so she's in that district, 100% disabled veteran.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Kamari.
I would like to ask a question. I'm not sure what parliament procedure fits in this, but since we're going to discuss the procedures for new appointments, could this be tabled until we discuss the procedures for the new appointments before we make appointments today, since we intend to discuss procedure for new appointments?
Certainly it can be tabled, Mr. Kamari, but what my suggestion is to go ahead and act on the appointments for today, like we've been doing, and then we'll discuss it later on the policy, if we want to leave it like it is, or if we want to change it, for the appointment committee makes a recommendation, and we vote on it at the next meeting. But I think that I've had enough discussion with board members that we're kind of unclear on it. But to keep from making the water muddy today, I felt like we need to go ahead and act on the ones that I appoint today, and then we'll discuss it, and starting next meeting, we'll all be on the same page and clear on what the procedure is. But you know, if you feel like you want to make a motion to table it, you know, that's certainly your privilege.
I want to make a motion to table it.
Okay. I have a motion on the floor that we table this recommendation. Any comments? If not, what's the pleasure of the board? All in favor of tabling this recommendation, show sign of right hand. All opposed, show sign of right hand. Motion carries that we do not table this motion. Now, I go back and did the vote.
Vote on Jamie.
Okay, we need to appoint the appointment committee's recommendation. All in favor, show of sign of right hand. All opposed, same. Motion carries. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you turn the page to page 11, the Wayne County ABC Board, the recommendation from the appointment committee is to appoint David Metter to the ABC, Wayne County ABC Board, and this would be an appointment, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion on the floor for an appointment of Mr. David Metter. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment to that motion,
Yes, sir.
and I will explain. Ms. Linda Jones is presently serving her first term on that board. Mr. David Meadows have served 9 years on that board in the past. Ms. Linda Jones is the only female on the board, the ABC board. And I just think it's unfair to take her off without any problem she's had. She's not having any problem with the board. A good citizen, a good person that have served well for the past 3 or 4 years. And to bring somebody back on this, I've already served 9 years on that particular board, and replace Linda Jones, I think it's just unfair. So I offer a motion to keep Ms. Jones on that board.
I have a motion and an amendment. What's the pleasure of the board? All in favor of Mr. Bell's amendment, show of sign of right hand. All opposed? Mr. Bell's adjustment failed. So we'll vote on Mr. Mehta to serve on the ABC board. I have a motion from Mr. Mayo. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Good morning.
I would just like for public consumption to make something clear. My concern is not any particular appointment as we're going over there. My concern is for the entire process. I would not want it to look like my concern was with number one appointment. My concern is with the process. And so I just want for public consumption to understand it's the process that we're going to discuss later that I felt like deserved to be discussed prior to making any appointments today, since we have determined that the process need to be discussed. I just want that to be clear.
Thank you, Mr. Kamari.
Thank you, sir.
All in favor of Mr. Mehta serving on the ABC board, show sign of right hand. All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, also on the ABC board, if you look at, turn to page 14, you'll see a letter from our county manager, Mr. Wood, that we're showing the membership of the ABC board, and we make a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners for chairman of the Wayne County ABC board. And the Board of Commissioners will need to appoint the chairman of the Wayne County ABC board with a term of office from July 1st, 2014 through June 30th, 2015. And the appointment committee wants to recommend at this time that Irvin Watts be the chairman for the ABC board from July 1st, 2014 through June 30th, 2015.
I have a motion on the floor from the appointment committee that we appoint Mr. Irvin Watts as chairman of the ABC board. And I think this is a general statute that we do have to, the county board does have to appoint the chairman of the ABC board. I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? If none, pleasure of the board. All in favor, show sign of right hand. All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, if you turn back to page 11, the very bottom, the Wayne County Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee, the recommendation from the appointment committee is to reappoint Linda Harper to the Wayne County Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee. That's in the form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a motion on the floor that we'll nominate, reappoint Linda Harper to the Adult Home Community Advisory Committee. Any discussion? If none, all in favor show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
And I think that's, that's all the appointments we have this morning, Mr. Chairman. But before we move on, as chairman of the appointment committee, I'd like to say in a little bit of response to Commissioner Bell's comments at the 8 o'clock session. It's not totally in context as to what we're doing on the appointment committee. For example, I've been on the appointment committee for 2.5 years. I was on here a year while as a minority on the appointment committee. and I was one. And the year that I served, you can ask Ms. Marshall Wilson or anybody else that was in that year, that I worked together with the appointment committee, but I never caused what I call big issues and bring up issues. Here's where the problem is that the appointment committee has a different avenue and a different outlook because of the change that the voters of Wayne County elected. Here's the issue. The issue is that we are going to pick people to the best of our knowledge to put on these appointment committees. But in the appointment committee meeting, when there are things said that are not professional, as Mr. Bell says, they're not professional, and things do get a little bit hot, I take offense to it to a certain degree because I was very personable in the year that I served as a minority on this appointment committee before the citizens of Wayne County made a change. So the point here is that yes, there should be changes. When things are said, like we should not take anyone off a board or committee in a particular case because they've been there for 50 years. We need to leave them on there. No. The citizens of Wayne County voted for change, and that includes these appointments. What is not professional is for any of us to come out here and use it as a political crutch, and also at the same time prove to the citizens of Wayne County that since the shoe is on the other foot, that it's offensive. And that's where I'm coming from, and that's the comments that I have. And certainly you can print this in the Goldsboro News Argus because it's truth. So this is where I'm at as chairman of the appointment committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Bell.
since Mr. Mayo directed that to me, I think it's embarrassing for him to make the comments that he just made. Any commissioner on this board is authorized to ask questions on any committee or any time that we're in a meeting. And shouldn't be embarrassing to any commissioner because one commissioner from a different party may ask the question. And that's what he's referring to. He's made this thing completely political. And this is not a political board. I don't care who elected him to the board. This is the Board of Commissioners that works for all the citizens of Wayne County, not just the Republican Party.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Donnie.
On another matter, on the appointments committee as such, I see here that, according to this letter, that according to policy adopted by the Board of Commissioners, the term of appointment of the chairman of the Wayne County ABC Board has rotated through the membership with the term of office from July the 1st to June the 30th of each year. And it indicates that that is the policy of the Board of Commissioners for it to automatically rotate.
That's what has been done in the past.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we change that policy to include that the appointment of the chairman to be made by the Board of Commissioners each year, and remove the terminology that it automatically would be rotated.
Is that in the form of
I so do.
Is that in the form of a motion?
Yes, I so do.
I have a motion on the floor that we change the wording in the appointment of the ABC Board Chairman. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mann.
Marshall, am I correct? We're trying to also have the chairman's term to be the same as their
Members' terms.
members' term.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we can still do that.
Yes, sir, that's
Okay.
fine.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other discussion? What's the pleasure of the board? All in favor of Mr. Darling's motion, show sign of right hand. All opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Okay, it's a little past 10 o'clock, time for our public comment section. Remind everyone to state your name, address, phone number, and you're limited to 4 minutes.
Tom Drew, P.O. Box 587, Goldsboro 27533. And it's been on the old greeting, I'll say today, heal the messenger. One high priority is free speech. I asked the chairman or the board or the county manager who provides legal counsel for Wayne County for free speech issues that the county may address from time to time. If anybody wishes to respond later to that question, please raise your hand. Well, it seems like the county's without legal counsel on that matter.
Mr. Drew, can I interrupt just a second?
If you stop the clock.
Well, we'll give you an extra 10 seconds. You know as good as everyone else, Mr. Parker is representing the county. Thank you.
Did you get my email sent yesterday? Did it FYI on the matter?
No, sir, I did not get your email.
It addressed the last conversation I had with him, see if he got my email, which he said he did during the last public comment, and asked us if there'd be a reply, and his response was probably not. And it's addressing free speech issues. Especially when I'm a citizen reporter researching advanced education suicide prevention, and I've got the thought police impeding my progress. In mental health, it's understood the word psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist, and such is just a highfalutin word for a friend. East Point, April 29th, had planned a workshop on teen suicide prevention. That's when we had a storm. It was canceled. It's rescheduled for tomorrow evening at the library auditorium on Ash Street for 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. I've been researching the advertising of it, and when they re-advertised it, I saw when they would re-advertise the new schedule. The understanding was the policy of the News Argus was to only do so 3 days in advance. It was in Sunday's paper. Late notice for someone to plan. The short time allotted for it, 5:30 to 6:30, 1 hour to address teen suicide prevention, I don't think is doing this subject justice. They do have opportunity to be there till 8:45, why they would limit to that. In the recent public comment, I believe I shared a copy of Report 427 that was on the bulletin board at WCC, seeking from this board their understandings or why they would agree that it should be censored. I haven't received no reply. I did give a copy that same day before I come up here to the president, so she's got a copy of it. I'd welcome her understanding as well. Proactive efforts, I've suggested here, as with the Board of Education meeting, especially when schools, as far as teen suicide and more suicide, terrorism related to that, to know proactively. I suggested all students and teachers write an essay of why peace is possible or not possible, and received no reply. Though it's understood where peace is a taboo subject, so wonder anyone's will.
Thank you, Mr. Drew. Anyone else have any comments to make at public session, public comment session? If none, the public comment section is closed. Unfinished business,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Doherty.
You know, in this world, we rely upon attorneys for all the legalities and all of the documents and so forth to make sure everything is proper. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the conveyance of Grantham Middle School and Spring Creek Middle School sites from the Wayne County Board of Education to adopt the lease agreement between the schools and the county, the deed of trust, and the installment financing agreements. Does that include all that we need to?
One other one is the construction agreement between you and the Board of Education. So that you have done it already, but they'd like it, more
And
formalized.
as well as the construction agreement.
Yes, sir.
I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Mr. Wood?
Mr. Chairman, just wanted to give you the latest update on the financing agreement. Mentioned it at the 8 o'clock meeting. We're recommending that you go with SunTrust, and the rate would be 3.55%, which is lower than what we had done our projections on. So we're extremely pleased with that rate. This is a negotiated sale. We had one other applicant on that. They were very close, but we felt like SunTrust was the better one. They gave us more flexibility on the refinancing. The other thing we see as a real plus is that Tom Lee reports that they've done a number of these financings with SunTrust, and so they do not anticipate problems with the documents, them accepting Tom's documents. And as you know, time is of the essence here because we want to get to the LGC on their July meeting and get this thing approved. So taking all of that into account, is there anything else, Pam? Did we pretty well cover it?
Just that SunTrust had a better prepayment.
The prepayment process, the prepayment terms were better for them. So that's the latest update. Again, it would be 3.55% level principal payments over a 20-year period. And that's 3.55% throughout the full 20-year term. So we're very pleased with the terms we were able to get on that. They compare very favorably to what we think we would have gotten if we had gone to the additional expense and everything and time of going through a competitive sale. And that's where you would have gone out for bids on this. The law allows you to either do competitive bids or a negotiated sale. And Ted Cole and Davenport recommended the negotiated sale, and we agreed with that. So that's where we're at.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Daugherty.
if I might comment on that, since I was involved with the county manager on those discussions, that is 40 basis points less than what was discussed with the prior lease that was proposed. That's a substantial savings.
Yeah, we're extremely pleased with it.
And that's for a full 20-year term, so unless interest rates drop dramatically, we'll just carry that all the way through on the entire 20 years.
That's right.
Great job.
And if they should drop, I believe it's a 7-year.
It's any time with SunTrust. It
Any
was-
time with SunTrust. The other one would have been at 7 years, you could have you could have called the bonds in. This is at any time.
Anytime.
But it's hard to believe we're going to reach a rate environment that's better than what we're in. It's possible, but, so we wanted that flexibility. But as y'all know, these are historically low interest rates. So in terms of the interest cost to the community, it's really a good time to be going to the market.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor, show of sign of the right hand. Motion carries unanimous. Item number 2, motion to purchase property communication tower site in western Wayne County. Mr. Wood.
Mr. Chairman, we were able to get the site as I think we mentioned to you last week at the United Methodist Crisis, where they have their crisis team that responds to disasters. I guess it's a disaster relief team.
Yes, sir.
We've been able to line up purchasing some property there. Commissioner Mayo mentioned about the price at $20,000. That's a valid point. The reason that we're comfortable with that is if you compare that to what we were looking at on some other sites, while they might have been cheaper on the initial raw land cost, they had site development costs. For instance, if you recall on one, we were going to have to remove trees, we were going to have to grub the land, then we were going to have to install probably about a quarter of a mile of roadway. The beauty of this site is it is on their location. We access it through their road, and we are right into the area. So there's virtually no development cost other than fencing it and building the tower. And we feel like that more than offsets any differential in cost. The other thing I did want to point out is that in looking at this site, as y'all know, we've had difficulty siting this particular tower. And some of the sites we've looked at, one in particular, when we did the propagation study, we would have had to, instead of use about a 180-foot tower, we would have had to go with a 240. That's a much more expensive tower. Yeah, but that was just to get enough height to get the propagation study. And for those of you who aren't that familiar with radio signals, the propagation study shows you how strong a signal you're going to get on a geographic map. It overlays it for you, and you see where you should get certain signal strength. And so when we did this one, it actually turned out to be the best site of any of the ones we've looked at. So it's the last one we've looked at, but it ends up being the best one in terms of the propagation study. So when we factored all of that in, we felt like it made a good selection for us. And since, in addition, time is of the essence in getting these towers completed. As y'all know, we've bought the land for the other one. We need to get this one done, and then we'll have both sites and be ready to go. And with that, Mel, is there anything y'all would like to add? Think we covered it? Okay.
Mr. Charlie.
Just a quick question there. Again, who owns this site?
It is United.
Come up.
It's the UMM Ventures or United Men's Methodist. They're the 3MC, the Men's Methodist Ministry. They have a disaster team that goes out during disasters. They've got a big warehouse out there that they put things in. And then when we have major disasters, they are the relief that come out and help the community.
I question that because it's good when you are acquiring something, but you're also helping such a great cause. I mean, you get an additional benefit for the community to where you are supporting the disaster relief. So I just wanted to point that out as well.
Mr. Mayor, I just had a couple of things. The 100 by 100 is about a quarter of an acre. It's
Yes.
less than a half acre, right?
Yes, sir.
And this is commercial. So we got to have the zoning changed from commercial. Is that right?
Yes, sir. We have worked with Connie Price with planning, and we've got that worked out.
Okay. If we were to purchase a 100 by 100 at a different site in the middle of a farm field, and this is just for information, the only reason I'm asking this is that I want the taxpayers of Wayne County to understand. $20,000 is a lot for 100 by 100. But if we were to purchase a 100 by 100 out in the middle of a 200-acre farm and had to get an easement to it of the same length, a quarter of a mile, about what would this road, it is a dirt road on it, is that correct? It's a dirt road, rock road?
It's actually, you have to do a gravel road, but you've got to be able to withstand the heavy traffic going in there to erect the tower.
Yeah, and I was just wondering if there's a ballpark figure somewhere.
What we were doing on the other.
Commissioners, it's entirely dependent on how long the driveway is.
Right.
But it would have to be a heavy driveway with a 6-inch base and so forth. So it's gonna be expensive. And this property, I think, is paved already.
It's paved, yeah.
So that offsets a lot of, what would seem to be a big price.
Okay.
That driveway saved us a lot of money.
Okay. And the other question, Mel, you might, I don't know if you can answer this or not, but I'm just wondering, in that area, does anybody know what the average cost per acre is out in that area? What the tax is on that, the tax evaluation? Okay. It's, I'm thinking in my experience, because I'm familiar with that area, even on the commercial side, in that area, probably 6 to 8 would be the highest on the commercial side per acre. So that's why I'm asking these questions.
Right.
So you've answered my question. By the time you add everything together, you're gonna come up with the same amount.
That's what we felt, Ray.
Yeah, okay.
And again, we've had difficulties, y'all know, citing it. We have to be within a certain area for that radio.
Yeah.
And so it's limited where we can look. And then getting the good propagation study that we got, we felt like all of that, and the fact that the access to it is there, it's already in place, we felt like it offset it.
Okay, well, like I say, the reason I asked was for taxpayers, for example. And I know I'm a penny pincher like Commissioner Daughter here, but if we were to say 10,000 on this one, and we did that 20 times a year, we're looking at $200,000.
That's right.
And so that's the only reason I'm asking these questions. So, thank you, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to make one comment though. Mel and the staff, spent a lot of time on this. We looked at 6 or 8 different locations, and we, by the time we think we'd get to the finish line, we'd have a flat tire. I mean, really, we just could literally. Well, when all this started taking place, I mean, it was cut and dry. We were going to be on the USL tower. I mean, never crossed our mind that we wouldn't be on it. I mean, but then when we got down to the final legwork, there was no room left on that USL tower without us reinforcing it. And we were going to spend far more to reinforce someone else's tower than we could put our own up. So that's what started this whole process on the western side. We didn't visualize we had a problem on the west side until we got into it. And then we got into trying to purchase land, and it just wasn't there. I mean, we even got to the point where we tried to lease some land, and that didn't pan out. So I just want to thank Mel and the OES staff for the hard work that they put in on this. But with this location, we can move forward. And like Mr. Daugherty said, not only are we helping the county, we're helping a nonprofit that helps a lot of people.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Daugherty.
I move that we authorize the purchase of the property for the communication tower in western Wayne County to be located at 680 Community Drive, Goldsboro, North Carolina, for a purchase price of $20,000 and a budget amendment accordingly.
It's not gonna require a budget, amendment. We
Okay.
have money in the line.
I got ahead of myself.
Do you have anything else, Mel?
I was just gonna, what Chairman Aycock was saying, just to fortify the US Cellular Tower site to fix their tower for us to fit on it was about $98,000.
And then you're still just a tenant.
Right.
This way, we're the owner.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion?
Just one quick comment. I too was sort of hesitant about the price of this thing, but with the explanation and the reasoning behind it, I don't think we got any choice. So, and I appreciate your questions, Mr. Mayo. But thanks to the explanations again, I got my answer, made my decision.
Any other discussion? No other discussion. I have a motion on the floor. All in favor, show of sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on. Eastern Carolina Region, resolution. Mr. Mayo, will you handle that, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did you have any comments you want to make before I read it?
Yeah, I'll make a couple. I had given y'all out the resolution, but also this cover memo to Borden from Borden to me. He was forwarding this to me from the attorney for the Eastern Region who's handling this. As I said at the 8 o'clock meeting, we're trying to close on these loans, I believe it's June the 12th. So we needed to put it on today because this is the last regular meeting. 10th, excuse me, June 10th is when we want to close. And as y'all recall, when we did the last resolution, we basically said we would take whatever remainder they had. And of course, so what Jim Cawley is doing is now he has confirmation of who's taking what. And so all we're really doing is truing up with this resolution what the exact dollar amount will be, that you've agreed to it, and then we'll go forward with the closing documents. Is that correct, Mr. Clark? So that's essentially what this resolution does. And before he reads it, I just want to say I think we owe a debt of gratitude to Ray, because he has really kept us abreast throughout this whole process of whenever money became available. You know, this started out with just one, then we found out we could do an additional one, and then we came back with a third one. So we really appreciate you making us aware of these funds and keeping us on task on it.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mayor. Just also to add to what Mr. Wood was saying is that just to keep the public, remind the public that there's a 2% fee for this money that we have to pay. 1% goes to the Eastern Region, 1% goes to the county that's lending us the money, and then we're at a 0.25% interest rate for 59 months. And we were talking about an 8 o'clock session. I'd like to get 15 or 20 million if we could get it for that. I'd like to finance the schools with that kind of money. But just as a matter of information, so I'm ready to read the resolution if no other comments. Okay.
Go ahead and read the resolution, sir.
Resolution of the County Commissioners of Wayne County to approve entering a cross-allocation loan agreement with North Carolina's Eastern Region. Whereas Wayne County is within the North Carolina's Eastern Region, NCER, as established by North Carolina General Statutes 158-30, and subsequent, whereas Wayne County is the beneficial owner of a certain share of the trust funds collected within the NCR and administered by the North Carolina's Eastern Region Development Commission, and the state appropriation allocated among the 13 counties comprising the Eastern Region. And whereas the governing boards of certain other member counties, allocating counties of NCER, have duly adopted resolutions authorizing the transfer of their eligibility to apply for and borrow from their respective trust funds to any other member county on such terms and such conditions as may be mutually agreeable, the cross-allocation loan agreement, in parentheses. And whereas Wayne County has applied to the North Carolina's Eastern Region Development Commission for a cross-allocation loan from said funds in the total amount of $2,162,192.25 for the purpose of re-lending to various municipalities located within Wayne County for assistance with economic development and infrastructure projects within the scope of North Carolina General Statute 158-37 and North Carolina General Statute 158-7.1. And whereas the aforesaid loan to Wayne County has been duly approved by the North Carolina's Eastern Region Development Commission in accordance with this loan policy and procedure, with the terms of repayment as set forth in the intergovernmental agency agreement and contract, the promissory note, and the cross-allocation loan agreement required by the North Carolina's Eastern Region Development Commission. Whereas Wayne County has complied or will comply with any applicable public hearing and disbursement processes, and adequate certification of such compliance has been or shall be provided in a form satisfactory to the Commission's General Counsel. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes and directs that the county shall enter into the intergovernmental agency agreement and contract with the North Carolina's Eastern Region, and the appropriate officers of the county shall execute the intergovernmental agency agreement and contract, promissory note, and related documents required by the North Carolina's Eastern Region Development Commission, including the cross-allocation loan agreement and such additional documents as necessary to evidence any fees and charges owing to the allocating counties under the terms and conditions of the cross-allocation loan. I adopted this I'm assuming third day of June 2014. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept this resolution as read.
Any comments, Mr. Parker?
Mr. Wood and I were just talking as you were reading it, and in the fourth whereas, we're talking about relending to various municipalities. The last time it was before you, you added the language "or use by Wayne County," so you would have the full ability to use some of this funds for your own economic development, specifically the sewer situation down in Monmouth.
Yes.
So I would recommend that you add that to this.
Okay.
And where would we add that?
That it would be in the fourth whereas, down there, the third line down, it's talking about relending to various municipalities located within Wayne County or use by Wayne County
For use
assistance of economic development.
You say for or?
Or use
Or.
by Wayne County.
Or use by Wayne County, okay.
Well, that answers my question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
We need to add the associated budget amendment for approval.
We also make an amendment motion.
Okay, and also, the change we just made, we don't have to do anything on that, right?
We have to amend your motion.
Okay,
That was if you were going to include that in your motion, that would be fine.
I will include the change in paragraph 4, the terminology, located within Wayne County for use by Wayne County, with economic development infrastructure. Is that how that's going to read?
It would be within Wayne County or use by Wayne County for assistance with economic development.
Right, okay.
You got that, Marshall?
I'll give it to her.
And the budget.
And also, budget amendment 463, which is for the total amount of $2,162,192.25. I also want to include that in my motion, Mr. Chairman. Amendment number 463.
Any other discussion? No other discussion. I have a motion on the floor, or a resolution on the floor from Mr. Mayo, and also a budget amendment number 463 for the Eastern Region. If no other discussion, the pleasure of the board. All in favor show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous. I would like to say thank you to Mr. Mayo and for his hard work and dedication on securing these funds at this interest rate for Wayne County. I think that several of the municipalities and also the county of Wayne have got some projects that we can use this money for. And thank you again, Mr. Mayo.
Thank you.
Consent agenda. We have a motion that we approve the consent agenda. Or any discussion on the consent agenda.
I'll go ahead and make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion on the floor that we accept the consent agenda. Any discussion? No discussion, pleasure of the board. All in favor of the consent agenda, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on to new business. Item number 1 we've taken off. Number 2, motion to approve lots 1 through 12 in Ingramfield subdivision. Chip, if you would, please.
All right. Up for consideration is Ingram Fields subdivision. Owner developer is J&N Developers. The surveyor is Deering and Associates Land Survey, and it's in Fort Township located on Charlie Browswell Road. 12 lots located on the west side of Charlie Browswell, a little more than a half a mile north of Rosewood Road. It is zoned residential agricultural 20, which has a minimum lot size of requirement of 20,000 square feet. It's zoned due to its proximity to Rosewood Elementary School. It is located within an area called Urban Transition on Wayne County's growth strategy map. There will be 2 new streets. All the lots will use the interior streets for access. The average lot size is 22,038 square feet. And this will meet the minimum lot size requirement for this zoned area. It is going to be serviced by the Rosewood School Attendance Area. Water is supplied by Fort Township Sanitary District within the Oakland Fire District, serviced by EMS Station 2. It is located within the Goldsboro MPO. It's not within a voluntary ag district. It is within the Neuse River Protected Area water supply watershed. No flood zone, no wetlands, and it is within Commissioner's District 4. The Wayne County Planning Board has reviewed it and recommended that the plat be approved as presented.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mayor,
I recommend approval.
have a motion on the floor. We approve this plot. Any discussion?
One question.
Mr. Payton.
Is there good access in and out, and how busy is that road? As you guys
Well, the
already talked about.
NCDOT has granted access to Charlie Brazel Road with 2 entrances, so the traffic count there meets their requirements for NCDOT for 2 accesses. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All those lots will be served internally by those 2 cul-de-sacs. There will not be any driveway access on the Charlie Brazel.
Any other questions?
Quick question.
Mr.
Are they
Darby.
requiring turning lanes there?
I do not think so.
No turning?
No, sir.
That's why I was asking that.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I have a motion on the floor. Pleasure of the board. All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Right quick too. How's Connie?
He's doing really good. He's back home.
Good, good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Budget amendments, Ms. Pope.
This may make a record.
Good morning. We'll start with budget amendment number 421. And this budget amendment is, like I said, getting to the near end of the year. This is cooperative extension service. They're decreasing certain line items and increasing advertising and office supplies. And this is to transfer excess funds and salaries and wages, travel, meals and lodging, postage and dues and subscriptions to renew billboard contract for the We Dig It Agriculture Program. Number 421.
What's the pleasure of the board on budget amendment 421?
I move we adopt.
I have a motion on the floor that we adopt budget amendment 421. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Next budget amendment is number 428. It is for $100 in revenue and expenditure. The reason for this small one is because it does increase your budget. Anytime you have a revenue and expenditure line item, it must come before the board. This is kind of a unique budget amendment. Is it to obligate funds found by the inmate work crew. And they would like to spend it on special program material for the inmate work crew, $100.
May they find more. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the budget amendment 428.
I have a motion that we approve budget 428. Any comments? I would like to say, you know, even though sometimes when someone's incarcerated, they're still honest.
It's a very good sign.
I mean, this shows that, you know. Okay, all in favor of budget amendment 428, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Your next budget amendment is number 435, is for the 4-H Youth Family Promise. It is a grant. This is all grant funds. It's to increase the grant by $41,203 and increase the associated expenditures with the grant. It is part of the 4-H National Mentoring Program, which works toward decreasing juvenile delinquency rates, dropout rates, and improve academic succession, youth specifically the Latino population.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt.
I have a motion on the floor. We adopt budget amendment 435. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Number 438 is for the Sheriff's Department, and this is to increase the revenue for controlled substance by $4,604.20 in associated expenditure.
Make a motion to approve, Mr.
I
Chairman.
have a motion on the floor that we approve budget 438. Any discussion? No discussion, pleasure of the board. All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Your next budget amendments for the Sheriff's Department is for the HITA marijuana eradication program to appropriate funds received from the HITA marijuana eradication for helicopter fuel. Is to increase the revenue, which we've received these funds, and increase the fuel for the helicopter by $3,261.09.
Recommend approval, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion on the floor, we approve budget amendment number 456. Any comments?
446.
446.
It's on the next page.
Yes, you did. Okay, I'm sorry, 446.
One in order.
I have a motion on the floor that we, for budget amendment 446. Any discussion? No discussion, pleasure of the board. All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries.
Now, number 456 is for the Sheriff's Department, and is to reallocate some of the salary line items.
I didn't get that.
It is to decrease overtime by $15,000, decrease extra help by $10,600, to increase your salary line items and the, some of the benefit line items that go with it. This is for getting near the end of the year for the Sheriff's Department.
Do I have a motion?
Could I have, Mr. Chairman, could I question that a little bit? We are decreasing overtime and extra help,
Yes, you are.
and so we're just basically
We're just shifting
balancing
line
out
items.
some-
It's just over the $5,000 limit.
Yeah, and we're just balancing out for the
Yes,
end of
sir.
the year.
Just accounting procedure.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt 456 budget amendment.
I have a motion on the floor that we adopt budget amendment 456. Any discussion? No other discussion. All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I might comment, it just seems a little odd, here we are at the end of the fiscal year, that we don't have more budget amendments.
We got one more meeting.
Oh, well, okay.
She's saving it.
She's saving them, she's saving them. Okay.
Okay. Item number 4, I'd like to have some discussion on our procedures that we are presently doing for the appointment committee. I think we just need some clarification on it. So the floor is open for any comments on the procedures that that the appointment committee, it's been discussed in the past. Presently, we are, the appointment committee makes recommendations and we vote on them the same day. There has been some discussion that possibly we need to let the appointment committee make the recommendations and then vote on them at the next meeting. And personally, it doesn't make any difference to me one way or another, but I think we need to clarify the procedure that we're doing. So the floor is open for any comments or motions.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayo.
I've given this a lot of thought, and the things that were said that our last commissioner may have suggested, and I just want to make a suggestion. I'm not telling the board what to do. I'm just looking from the standpoint of a chairman. In my experience of 2.5 years, is that whether we vote on it the day that we present it or we wait 2 weeks, each commissioner is still going to have to do and also do their due diligence to either go to the website like we do and look at who's putting in applications and what is actually coming up for openings. And also, we can also, on this board, just like happened this morning, any commissioner can make their own motion. Just because it comes from an appointment committee doesn't mean that commissioners don't have the right to to nominate other people. So from that standpoint, if we delay it for 2 weeks, for example, and just present it, unless the commissioners do their due diligence, it's gonna be the same result. So my question is that if we're not doing it now, what makes us think we're gonna do any better in 2 weeks? I really like the idea of being able to come before the Board of Commissioners, and here's another thing. The Commission Board has entrusted 3 of us to be on this appointment committee. And if that trust is not there, then my suggestion is it's time to make a change on the appointment committee, which I'm not against. But I'm making a suggestion not making it as a motion or anything. I'm making a suggestion to the board that we leave it the way it is, the way it's been for quite a few years, I understand. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Daugherty.
Mr. Chairman, I take pride with the fact that this board has worked very well together. And we find ourselves, even though we may have a disagreement in regards to a position, we generally work very well together. Except when it comes down to appointing people to boards and commissions. And it seems like we have got more problems with appointments than anything else. We can approve budget amendments, we can build schools, we can do a whole lot of things, but it just seems like that it's a constant problem there. So, with that said, I would ask that the chairman review the makeup of the appointments committee, and let's find a way to stop quivering over some of these appointments. I think we owe it to the entire board that we find a way to make appointments without a lot of quibbling. I hate to see that it causes division from reaching out and doing the hard work that's there, necessary to find people to serve on boards and commissions, and yet it for some reason causes some type of friction on this board. So I would hope we can find a way that we can stop whatever's causing the friction, that we can stop it. So I think as chairman, I think that it is something that you need to address so that we can work together more in agreement. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kamari.
I think that in some information that was shared a few days ago, that the procedure that we're using now to act upon it a half hour after it's done was a procedure that was put in place probably 2013, and not, if I understood it right, maybe around 2013, not years ago, as is suggested now. And if that's incorrect, I stand corrected, because I wasn't on this board. And so I'm trying to glean information that the procedure that we're suggesting going to, which is the recommendation be made, and then the voting will be done 2 weeks later. I think it would do a couple of things. It would give the boards an opportunity to enhance our due diligence by calling us, talking with us, or bringing it to our attention that if they felt like someone who was getting ready to be voted off the board by somebody else being voted on, may give them an opportunity to consult with us or to share information with us. It would also give the person, and I'm not saying that they can't go on a computer someplace and find out, Mr. Mayo. I'm not saying that we can't. But sometimes just human contact beats all the new electronics. So it would just simply give the whole process of time. 2 weeks, I believe, it's a couple of weeks is not gonna hurt. I don't want, and this is one of those things, it's called not rushing to judgment on appointments. And yes, Mr. Daugherty, this does lend itself to some point of contention, because my concern is that we, and if I understood the earlier conversation, that it may be running along party lines. Well, way after it becomes a party, I think we're gonna look to make sure, and I believe it is, all persons who have put their names in nomination up there, they're eligible to serve, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, men or women, white or black. But there is, I believe, regardless of the outcome of any election, a need to keep boards balanced on all those categories that I just mentioned. Because when folk come to boards and commissions and things to get things done, planning board that I serve on, I think that it's healthy that right this minute is represented by both genders, men and women, is represented by more than one race, and is represented by more than one party, I believe, although I haven't asked anyone what party they belong to. But I'm just taking that into consideration. So I want us to look at those things, and therefore, if we are as transparent as we say we want to be, then we will give that part that seems to be an area of contention a chance to hopefully be less contentious and more adequately represent the entire county. If we went back and did some percentage survey of registered Democrats, registered Republicans, number of white people, number of black people, number of men and women, let's just make sure that the boards are representative of our community. And I ask that just as a citizen.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Pate, go first. Mr. Pate.
Couple was first, for clarification, I can ask Ms. Wilson, when did this procedure change over? It wasn't in the last year, I'm pretty sure.
I'll have to check, I don't.
Okay, but it wasn't.
2013.
It wasn't.
No, it was not 2013. I
Mr.
served on
Mr.
2012,
Mr.
and it's the same way.
Excuse me.
It's the same
Excuse me,
way.
I still had the floor, gentlemen.
I served on
Mr. Pate.
2012.
I still had the floor.
Mr. Pate's got
If
the floor.
you'll get that for us, I would appreciate it.
I'll be glad to.
I don't really see the use of pushing it out 2 weeks. I really don't. You know, I spend a lot of time looking at these applications. I look at what's there, and I prepare for the meetings. Simple as that. And everybody has the same opportunity to do that. But, you know, if it's a pleasure of the board to do that, you know, I still think you end up with the same result. Just one other thing. When we placed Irvin Watson on the ABC board, I think he was told by Mr. Myrick that he was the first Republican on that board in 14 years.
That's right.
So, come on, guys, let's be honest.
Yep,
You know.
that's right.
Mr. Chairman.
That's right.
And I'm through now.
Hey, you could cut, yeah,
Mr. Mayor.
I think there's time, I think it's time for a change on the appointment committee, and I would like to make a suggestion. I would like to, in my position as chairman, I would like to recommend that Joe Gurley, who's coming on July 1st, be on the appointment committee, and I also would like to recommend that Mr. Ed Camarda be on the appointment committee. If Mr. Bell wants to serve, that's up to him, but I believe that we need a change of face on the appointment committee. Let it go into as much depth as it wants to, but the bottom line is, no matter how you cut it, is that it's a problem, whoever has the majority in this county. It's a problem. Because when I came on in 2013, again, I'm telling you, I have it, if any commissioner wants to see it. These boards and committees that have a little power, like the ABC board, the popular ones, over 90% were registered Democrats. And look, you will not convince me that's not the case. Again, I'm saying, the citizens of Wayne County made a vote, and they are expecting us to make some changes. But look, we just put Mr. John Bell back on the East Point board. Hey, is that not being bipartisan? So the key is that we are working together here. We're trying to. But we didn't have this issue last year. Why is that? Why is it all of a sudden coming up this year? That's all I have.
Mr. Bell?
Mr. Chairman, I'm just gonna make a brief comment. I've been on this board 14 years, and for Mr. Mayo to sit there and tell me, and I hate to drag Ms. Wilson in this, but I'm not gonna ask her to respond. But Ann Anderson, which is a Republican, was chairman of our board for years. We never used the term Democrat or Republicans during the time that we served on that board. We never knew who was being appointed to a board because it never came up. And as far as Mr. Watts saying that he's the first Republican, I would not have known that if you hadn't told me that, because we never checked anybody's political you got me all mixed up. But anyway, we never checked to see what party somebody belonged to. And this didn't come up until 2013. And it's just like right now, the only reason I know this, the entire board, ABC board, as of next month, will be 100% Republican. And thanks to Mr. Mayo, as the way he's been putting people on the board and taking people off. Now, he knows that I know I don't play the party, because he's heard me say it many, many, many times. I don't care what a person is to sit on these boards and committees. The party shouldn't matter, and the Board of Commissioners shouldn't matter, because you should not be playing politics on this board.
Mr. Chairman, I won't make a motion.
All right, but Mr. Mayo first.
I got one other comment. The only problem we've got here is that the appointment committee, and you're blaming me as chairman, but that's not it. I'm not the only person that votes on this appointment committee. I'm only one of three. And when there's two votes, what is the problem? I don't understand this. When we have votes, I remember in 2012 that's the way it was. You know, I know some commissioners that used to sit up here and hold up four fingers. Now, I've never done that, and I don't intend to, but what I'm saying is that what in the world is wrong with change if the board wants it, people from the ABC board wanted it, every one of these boards that we have made changes, I have called them and asked them. I have done my due diligence as chairman. What else can I do? Yes, you didn't know the party affiliations, Mr. Bell, because most of your friends are Democrats and most of mine are Republicans. So we just put on there who we know. And therefore, you don't know. You don't have any idea.
Mr. Chair.
And the mix is the way it is. I can't do anything about it.
Mr. Darley, before you make your motion,
Yes.
I want to make a comment. I'm, as chairman of this board, I'm gonna be the bad guy. When we have our first meeting in July, I am gonna change I'm gonna make some happy and some sad and some mad, but, it's gonna be my responsibility. I'm gonna change the members on the appointment committee at our July meeting. I do have that authority, don't I, Mr. Parker?
Yes, sir, you appointed them.
Okay, well, I'm going to appoint a new appointment committee in July, whether or why. And, I mean, if you still got a motion you want to make, you go right ahead.
Well, that was my motion, Mr. Chairman, so I appreciate your stepping up and take that up.
I'm going to be the bad guy.
That's why you get paid the big bucks. So let's see if we can solve it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now, will you clarify big bucks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else got any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is that all of our new business?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
We did not, finish our closed session this morning. We can either go back and close session now, or either we can go ahead and have the county manager's comments and the commissioner's comments. That's the pleasure of the board.
Let's go.
Huh? We're on the radio. We're on the radio to 12 minutes. Let's go ahead and then go ahead and make your comments then,
Okay.
Mr. Ross.
I just have a few, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to say that our group working on the jail had our first meeting with the architect that you selected at the last meeting. We had that meeting this week. I thought it was a very good meeting. And Commissioner Bell may want to make some additional comments under his comments, so I won't say too much more than that. But we have started that process in terms of scoping the work out that we want them to do for us. I thought we had an excellent discussion with them about that, and we're firming that up. As far as the agricultural center, I believe Thursday we spend pretty much the whole day, and that's everybody here, right?
Right.
We'll meet here, and I think we're going over 5 companies there. You know, we narrowed that down from 12, picked the top 5, and now the whole board will hear those 5 interviews, and then we'll go through the process of determining who you want to hire on that. So we've got both of those projects
Excuse me.
well underway.
Is it not just the ag?
Oh, it is the ag
It's
thing,
the
I'm
ag-
sorry.
it's the ag
That's
focus.
right.
And
then
then we'll make a,
Well, it was
we'll
the
make a
commission.
recommendation back to the board.
I thought,
The Ag Center and the commissioners will be meeting.
Okay.
I think the
You're
idea,
invited.
yeah, I think the
You're invited.
idea is that way, we didn't have to bring them back in, so that
Okay.
y'all are invited to come to that if you want to. Now,
I just want to make sure my ag folks.
yeah, the ag committee is
tell you
going to
that.
be here, absolutely. It's for them, and they're going to make a recommendation to the board,
And where would that meeting be?
In
right
this-
here.
In this room.
right here.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that Steve's public notice that we going?
Yes, the media has received the public notice.
They've
He's
had
already
notice.
gotten one, because he already asked me, did that get moved?
I just saved you some ink.
Okay. And the only other thing I wanted to mention is the library construction project is on schedule, and we'll be getting with you shortly about firming up a date when we can do a ribbon cutting on that. And Marcia will be sending something out to you, or has sent something out to you, and we need some feedback from you when we do that as to those kinds of dates. We're having a few scheduling conflicts, I think, here and there we're having to work around, but I think we're far enough along now that we can pretty much confirm that. We need to nail down from the furniture vendor that they're finishing up with everything there, because a lot of that, the shelving has to be, I don't want to say constructed in place, but assembled in place. It comes in Donna's words, 1,000 parts. So they'll have to do a lot of that on site. And in order to do that, we've got to be far enough along in the construction that we have at least a temporary CO and ideally the permanent CO on that. And then we can move forward on that. But it's looking very good. Ed, you live down there. Any comments you want to make?
I had just made a note to myself when it came time for me to say something. I was going to say it, but this is very appropriate. I just want to report today that over the last several days, Main Street has been repaved. I'd love to be able to tell you I directed that, but Main Street has been repaved to go past the library. It's gone. The paving is gone beyond the library. But I'm telling you, when the lines get put in and everything on that street, it'll be really beautiful. I mean, a person turning in on Main Street will think they've just turned into some fancy, and Mount Olivier's a fancy town, but I'll just be, all of you that live there and come up and down there, it's just beautiful to turn in there, and I'm 1 block off of Main, and it's a great joy to pull out on that street, and it's newly paved.
Yeah.
And the Veterans Memorial site is right across, like, they're working on that, just want to toss that in. I don't know exactly what their timeline is, I haven't, do you know, sir? Well, they've had to do some reworking on there, but just to have it, I can tell you this, without the whole thing being done, the lot itself will be pretty because they've already done some of the foundation work. So even if they didn't have anything but the grass and the foundation work they've done, it'll be a great across the street look to the library. So, thank you, Board of Commissioners, for the library and the former board who got it started, and the work that everyone is doing, and the work that the state has done, because those are state trucks putting that pavement down. It wasn't Mount Olive redoing it with the equipment they have, although they're good at what they do. But I just want to give a shout out to Mount Olive, to the paving, to the memorial site, what the town is doing with the site across the street, and the Steele Memorial Library.
Right.
It's very, very, very good.
Good. And the only other thing we're looking for is, I think they've got to install a fire hydrant and also tie in the stormwater catch basin. This is on the side street, not
It's
Main
still
Street.
blocked.
So
And
we're not gonna
they're
be,
still
we're not
working
gonna be
on that.
messing up the new pavement, but the town has got to install the fire hydrant and also the catch basin there. And they've got it open and everything, they've just gotta install that. And once they do that and pave that patch there, then I think we're pretty well in good shape there. And we are doing a walkthrough today with our folks and with Donna, and what usually results from that will be a punch list of what we need to, to finish up on. But everything's looking really good. That's pretty much my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wood. Commissioners' comments? Mr. Bell?
Based on what Mr. Woods just said, we did meet on the jail, and we gave the architect, we had a good meeting with the architect, and I think we chose the right firm. They have a lot of knowledge about building jails and remodeling jails, and we gave them 3 areas to look at, and the William Street, Wayne Correctional Center, and also the extension of this present location. So I think we're gonna get some good results out of that. And just for information purpose, the law are gonna change according to the governor's budget. That means all misdemeanors that we presently have and will have in the future is gonna be kept at the local level if the budget passes the way it is. So there's gonna be another great big increase in the jail numbers that we will be maintaining at the local level. So the jail is needed. I don't think we're gonna be able to do patchwork and to fulfill our obligations to the citizens of Wayne County when it comes to locking up people that need to be locked up. So hope all the commission will get on board, and let's take a good look at our jail needs, and let's do the right thing. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add one thing to
Yes,
that.
sir.
As y'all recall, we're trying to get a meeting with the Department of Corrections, and Cindy's trying to schedule that now. So we're trying to get that done so that we can have a face-to-face meeting with them on that. As you recall, I think it was at the last meeting, you wanted us to try to set that up. So we're in the process of doing that.
Thank you. I'm gonna skip around today. Mr. Mayor?
Caught me by surprise there. Talking about the Steele Memorial Library as facilities chairman, this is a perfect example of what can happen when we all work together. We came together. It took a while for us to get through what was already done, but once we got to that point, we had the Friends of the Library. Everybody came together, and what I like about it is that when we went to design build, we saved right at $1 million from the initial cost. But yet, we have a library that everyone, I haven't heard a single soul that has anything derogatory to say about the library, Steele Memorial Library, and plus it fits Mount Olive so well. I mean, it just blends in, and so, I think that's a perfect example of what we can do when we come together. On May 21st, I attended the NC East Alliance State of the Region Conference in Greenville, and that's basically, we learned about the latest about the NC Eastern Region transition to the NC East Alliance, And of course, we had speakers and so forth that gave us, you know, for example, is North Carolina still competitive? These are questions that are reasonable. What's the future of manufacturing and the impact upon the workforce in North Carolina, among other things? So it was very informative. I talked about STEM and what's happening in our schools. On May 22nd, I attended the base council meeting at the Goldsboro Country Club, which we have every year, and the presentations from Seymour Johnson and City of Goldsboro and the county. It's a concerted effort to come together and talk about what we've done this past year and what we want to do this coming year. But the main goal, of course, is to make our relationship with Seymour Johnson better. Anything can stand improvement. So we're doing everything we can to protect our base and to work with our base, and especially if we have a BRAC coming around, we need to have that special relationship. Of course, on May 27th, you know, we had our special meeting on the budget, and I wanted to say that I want to commend our interim county manager, Mr. George Wood, and the staff for the hours of hard work that was put into this budget. But you know what I like is that it's got the format and instructions so simple that even I can understand it. When I first came on the board, I had to come up and sit for 2 hours to learn and go through a class how to read the budget. I don't have to do that now. So I commend you for that. May 29th, we did have, I was part of the detention center meeting talking about what we're going to do with the jail. And it's public knowledge. It was in the paper. We're looking at possibility of other sites. I mean, it's not a secret. So we have to look at it because we're getting a little bit of cloudiness when it comes to the detention center being conveyed to us. But on that same day, I was able to attend Colonel Levitt's last flight as base commander at Seymour Johnson. And I'm going to tell you, that was, Commissioner Aycock and I were there, and that was something to see. It was a tribute that was given to Colonel Levitt that was well-deserved. She's going to be missed as far as this community. She's an all-around great person. She's a good commander. But, you know, I was talking to Steve Herring this morning with the News Argus. I thought that the News Argus did a great job on covering that as far as their story. It was spot on. A great article, which included, by the way, not only Colonel Levitt, but her husband and her children. And, of course, when you're in the military, it's just like when you're a county commissioner. It's a family thing. Everybody has to approve. So, but Colonel Levitt, she has been blessed with a great career. There's no doubt. So I really enjoyed that. The other thing that I really enjoyed going to was on May 31st, which was Saturday. I attended the Wayne County Jetport. It was Children's Day, even though we had a school, that was a make-up school day. It started in the afternoon. And it was sponsored by the EAA, which is Experimental Airport Association, Young Eagles. And get this, there were 64 children that came out for a free airplane ride. We didn't have enough planes to go around. I mean, they were flying constantly. And these kids just had a ball. And the adults came with them. And this is one of several events that the Jetport puts on every year to make people aware. Not only adults, but children aware of what our Jetport means, and especially what it means to our county as far as economic development. I invite all Wayne County citizens that's listening to visit the Wayne County Jetport. Go take a look at what's happened there over the last 10, 15 years, and I will promise you, you will be amazed. You will be amazed. That's a great that's a great addition to our county. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pate?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ray's already spoke about the Eastern Alliance meeting in Greenville, and that was a good meeting, and it did show that there's a manufacturing comeback and how competitive we are still in this country. And you would think that China and everybody else is beating us to death, but it's really close, and it really was a surprise. Got to go to the Assembly Day on the 28th. Got there a few minutes late, but we got there. And Speaker Tillis gave us an update what was going on in the General Assembly, which was interesting to hear that. And we got updates on the budget, and then the most important part, we went over to the legislature to talk to our representatives about issues and the county, the state, and how that impacts the county. Got some good information, some of it's not all that good, but it's just the way it works. The following day, which I was sorry I couldn't go to Colonel Lipp's last flight, but I had to go, I serve on the Agricultural Steering Committee, so I was back to Raleigh the next day. Chief Deputy Commissioner David Smith, who's Commissioner Troxler's right-hand man, gave us a briefing, and a lot of that was very, very interesting. Example, what it's going to cost. It's in the Senate budget as well. The Forest Service cost formula is changing, and they're pushing it down to our level, so it's going to cost the Wake County citizens more money. Talk about farmland preservation, which is very important, and I keep talking about that all the time. And he spoke about the easement purchases around military bases, which they're trying to protect our bases. Of course, I asked a question. I said, what about the wind turbines in the flight path? What are you doing there? And they are also looking at that, trying to buy property there to protect the mission of Seymour Johnson and our surrounding bases. He also spoke about House Bill 1099, which talks about drones or unmanned aircraft systems. They're still working on that. He talked about what great value that would bring to the people who do forestry work and our farmers. You know, they can get up, they can fly those drones over their crops, so they can look to see where they got problems in their fields rather than having to walk through them. And it could save them a great deal of time. I hope they can work that out so we can get that done for our local farming community. And something interesting I learned, animal control, which is now in the Department of Agriculture, is being moved over to public safety. And I don't know, nobody could say what kind of impact that would have. I don't know. It was just interesting he would say that. And we had some updates from Farm Bureau as well. But moving on, that same night I was able to attend as a guest of Southern Bank the honoring of Jim Daniels by the Boy Scouts of America at Walnut Creek. There was a great crowd there, and it was well deserved. And Jim has done a lot of work his whole life with the Scouts. A lot of volunteer time, a lot of construction work on his own that I would have never known about. And the following day, I think it was the next day, myself and Commissioner Mayo, we were on WGBR to talk about the advanced manufacturing issue, which I feel very positive about that. And let's see, he's already covered that. And just a general comment, our founding fathers were pretty smart guys. They made democracy a very difficult thing. You've seen some of that today. But in the end, it works. It was not made to be easy. And again, in the end, we all come together and we make it work. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Pate. Mr. Daugherty.
I appreciate those last comments because it is true. Democracy is tough sometimes, but in the end, we do need to come together. Well, I'm glad my fellow board members were all busy because I went to the beach.
I know you did. If you follow his exploits on Facebook, you know he ain't been around.
A 30-minute report, huh? Yeah. Well, I really did enjoy that. But that said, I did not attend many meetings, but I did enjoy the trip to Raleigh and meeting with our state representatives and discussing things from the lottery proceeds and the prison and things that affect us here in Wayne County. And we do need to be diligent. We do need to reach out to them and remind them that their decisions do have lasting effects here in Wayne County to our citizens. And then I need to report that evidently I'm getting a real bad reputation. As I was working on the budget and moving from department to department, I saw people scattering as I attended their department. And in fact, at one location, the financial person there turned around and said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Well, I'm headed on into the sheriff's office." "Well, see you later." She left. But I do want to reach out to our staff at all the departments, because they really have come across in helping us in our budget work session coming up this afternoon. They have really stepped up to the plate to help us find some savings. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Darcy. Mr. Camardi.
Thank you, sir. I just want to thank everybody for all the different meetings that they've attended and that you shared with us this morning. And that's very worthwhile to hear about all the things that you've gone to and shared back. I would like to say that one particular session something I happened to attend over the Paramount Theater was the Memorial Day celebration, and that was entertaining and uplifting, and a judge made a presentation very personal about some of the things related to his family. So it was really informative, and we always need to hear those things. I had a conflict on the county assembly day, and I'm sorry that I did, because now I realize how much I wish that I had been there, so that I could have heard the great things that it sounds like my colleagues heard, that the Raleigh representatives spoke of, and the things that they're going to do. And somebody said it, things they do affect people in Wayne County. I would like to say to the public, on behalf of the teachers, one of the things they're going to do that's going to affect the population in Wayne County is that they're proposing to trade some sort of a salary increase for the teacher's career status. Now, I don't know, maybe I ought to ask anybody who's taught school in here. Well, I was looking for some hands. Well, a career status is a valuable part of the overall economic package that teachers have. Over time, even the public say teachers don't make any money, but what teachers do make is they try to use it wisely. And one of the things that they value is career status. I was proud today that I began my 5th year after serving 4 years to get my career status. And for anyone to suggest that some raise equates to losing that is akin to someone trading a birthright away, the way that I see it. Second thing I want to make a point about is, and our manager's going to take care of this, is to discuss the situation with East Point. I have a real concern for people who, for whatever reason, get in trouble in the middle of the night and need someplace to go so they can right the ship, if you will. That's important. And so I applaud our manager. He's going to look at that, and after the kind of discussion that I know he's going to go through, find a balance that's appropriate for us to deal with. I want to thank our chairman for his leadership and what I think is going to be the best that he can come up with, whomever it is, so that we can make sure we are following transparency and fairness and some way to move forward without acrimonious parts of any discussion. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kamara. I'm gonna keep mine brief. Cause most of the meetings and events that's already been mentioned, I did not attend all of them, but I tried to make as many as I could. But I did attend the last flight of Colonel Lovett, and like Mr. Mayo said, that was quite an experience. First one I had ever been to, and carried out very professionally by our U.S. Air Force. I also had the chance Saturday night to go out to Colonel Lovett's little get-together that the chamber and the enlisted people gave her Saturday night. They had a short video or slide presentation, or I don't guess you call it a slide presentation anymore. I'm telling my age. But anyhow, on her career, and she's just a remarkable person. I'm not going to say lady or man, but she's a remarkable person to accomplish what she's accomplished. And she had told me that she had never flown until she was, I think she said 18 years old on a commercial flight. And then to accomplish what she's accomplished in that short period of time is quite remarkable. Also yesterday got a chance to go out to the change of command. Did get a chance to talk to General Colombo for a few minutes. And I assured him the importance of Seymour Johnson to Wayne County. And naturally he's in a position he can't say what will and won't be done, but he assured me that the powers above him understand the close relationship to Seymour Johnson and Wayne County and the city of Goldsboro. And had a good conversation with him. And I guess yesterday the most touching thing on the change of command, they have to present the colors and then sing the national anthem and go through the whole process. But the national anthem, Colonel Lovett's 8-year-old daughter sang the national anthem flawless. And I don't believe there was a dry eye in the crowd and goosebumps big as marbles on your arm. I mean, that was amazing. And you could just see the pride in Colonel Lovett's face when that child was singing the national anthem. But the ceremony was great. Then we did get a chance to go to the reception afterwards, and got to talk to General Colombo again. Did not get a chance to speak to the new base commander, but I'm quite sure that'll take place pretty soon. And that's basically what I have today.
Mr. Chairman, could I add a couple of things I left off?
Yes, sir, Mr.
I have appointed Mel Powers as the interim emergency services director. As y'all know, Joe's last day was over the weekend. I had met with Mel. Wayne and I met with him, I guess it was last Thursday, I believe.
Yes, sir.
And, I informed him of that decision. He's very pleased to do it for us. I've also appointed Sandra Blizzard as the interim airport director. And we will be moving forward with the applications on that airport manager. Ray Mayo and I are meeting with some folks now in regards to that, as well as the chairman of the advisory board. I'm sorry?
Buzz Baker.
Yeah, Buzz Baker. So we'll be moving forward with that. Just wanted to give y'all an update on that.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments? If not, we're going to go back into closed session, or?
Yes.
Is lunch here, Marshall, or don't you know?
I'm not sure if it's here right yet, but we will check.
And also would like to thank the Sheriff Department for their security today also. Thank you.
You don't need me when you're in closed session.
No, we're good now.
We're good. Thanks a lot.
Well, you're the man with a gun now, we might need you. You saw us act earlier, didn't you?
Some stuff got a little heated. I didn't know if y'all needed me in closed session or not.
Aren't you the peace officer?
No, I think I can control them now. But thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I move we go back to closed session.
I have a motion on the floor, we'll go back in closed session, in discussion. All in favor, show of right, sign of right hand. And I reckon I do need to clarify, Mr. Bell had to leave for a few minutes, but he is coming back just as quick as he can, but he had an appointment that he was necessary, that he had to be at, but he will be back, so we'll go ahead and, he told us to go ahead and proceed, and he'd be back just as quick as he could.
I do feel like that 6 months.
Lunch is not arrived yet.
Well, we'll go and
And
get started.
Does the county attorney need to restate why we're going into closed session?
It's to discuss matters dealing with prospective employees of the county.